Hey everyone, this is Kate Weatherwise, your favorite weather girl, coming to you on Monday evening, February 9th, 2026. It is nearing 9 p.m. on the Pacific Coast, which means it is near midnight on the East Coast, heading into Tuesday morning. We're going to talk about the weather right now and what is going on currently, just briefly. And then I want to give an update on this week's weather as far as timing and what type and where and all of that is concerned. So instead of taking up too much of your time, let's just get started. But before we get started, if you're not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe, share, hit the like button, or hit like and hit the notification button bell so you'll be notified when my next weather video comes out. Okay, let's get started. Now, this is the Pacific Northwest. You have cooler temperatures. The skies really cleared out this afternoon and evening over in eastern Washington, which is where I am. And it is pretty clear outside. I was outside not too long ago. I could see the stars, which is nice. That means the temperatures are really going to drop tonight below freezing into the 20s for a lot of this area. And you're seeing some snow reports down here in the Idaho area. About a couple hours ago, people were reporting between 4 and 10 inches of snow. A lot of that snow is falling in the mountains, but there is some snow that has fallen around the Boise area as well. And Montana, you are starting to cool back down. You had some snow today. There's some winter weather advisories still in effect for Montana, and you're going to see off and on snow all week long, especially as we get towards the middle and end of the week and into the weekend and even next week as well. This whole western area of the country, you are going to see more active weather. As I talked about last night, that has not changed. The timing, perhaps, maybe, and where locations. Of course, that's going to change on the daily, but for now, just letting everyone know that this is going to be an active weather week, which is great. So the temperatures are going to be there. Now all we just need is the moisture to be in place. Okay, let's head over. Actually, let's head over to the East Coast right now. You are getting some system snow up here in Michigan. That's coming through with a low pressure that is up here into Canada. And that system is just kind of meandering through, bringing some light snow. There's not even any people reporting, probably because it's late, but just some light snow moving into Michigan. And the temperatures are still pretty chilly as we head into the mid-Atlantic, into the Northeast. I spoke to a family member today who lives in Maryland, northeastern Maryland, and they are still very much frozen with just ice and snow, and it's very, very, very wintry there right now. And it's the kind of winter that they have not seen in a very long time. So when you haven't seen it in a very long time and all of a sudden it just shows up in full force, it's kind of, startling because you're just not used to it. So you have to get out your driving skills again, your just skills on how to deal with those wintertime temperatures. So that's what they're dealing with right now. And it's even a little chilly as we head down into Florida. You're 66, which is a little warmer than it's been, but you're in the 50s and a little 60s here and 40s up into North Florida in the 50s. Now, we are still looking at warmer temperatures here in Texas and in the center part of the country up into Oklahoma. You're a little bit cooler and a little bit cooler still as you head up into Kansas. But this area is going to stay relatively warm this week. Okay, let's get over to this is a satellite imagery right now. We'll just take a look at this really quick because it's one of my favorite things to look at. And you just see this system of clouds that is draped over central and a little bit of Southern California into Salt Lake, and a little bit of snow that fell over into Idaho, which seems to be gone now. And then that system snow that is coming through northwest lower Michigan currently as well. But there's not a lot going on in the country right now. So we're going to head over to this. This is the European model. And I wanted to show this in comparison to the Canadian model and what is how they are diverging, and how this system that is going to start over here into Texas on Saturday morning and then move across the country towards the mid-Atlantic and Northeast, and what kind of precipitation is going to be blossoming once it gets over in here and up in here. So we're going to start there first, and then we're going to head out west and talk about the West Coast second. So this is like I said, this is the European model, and this is Tuesday, and we have some system snow and some rain that's going to move through the mid-south, and that sort of dies out. And then as we get closer to the weekend, we see this ridge of high pressure stays in control in the center part of the country. There's a low here, but really this warmth stays here for the center part of the country, with a dip over here on the east, and then a beginning dip over here in the west as well. There's still some warmth. There's this high pressure that's here in California. We'll talk about that in a minute. We'll head out west, like I said. But this colder air dips down for our Wednesday, bringing in a continued chilly air that's going to keep those snow totals from melting away and the ice from melting away. So that's going to hang on for a little bit. And then we get into Thursday and then into Friday. Not much going on. That's when this system right here starts to wind up. This is Friday evening. It starts to wind up a little bit here into Texas, with a chance for storms. Like I mentioned yesterday, that chance is still there. And by Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, that's when that low pressure forms, with a little bit of snow on the backside, but there's not going to be snow on the north side of this one, because those warmer temperatures that have been around all week are still going to be there for the weekend. And as we push through, this low continues to move, and out ahead of it is going to be rain. There's not going to be cold air, so you're not going to have to look at any snow or ice here in the Mid-South, which is very, very good for them because they got smacked by ice. Now, this is Sunday morning as this rain pushes out ahead of this low pressure. It does show a little bit of mixed precipitation, not much. Mostly this whole area from the European model standpoint is looking at all rain. And as it continues east and northeast, because this low pressure system is the angle it's coming in, it is not going to pull down much in the way of colder air. A lot of the colder air is going to be pushed up into northern Pennsylvania, New York, and up into New England, as you can see from this angle. And even some mixed precipitation up here into northeastern Pennsylvania, into the New York City area, and then along the coast and a little bit inland areas of the Northeast. Some mixed precip, and then you have to go farther inland to see the snow. And then it just kind of skirts along the coast. And then you see, let me pull this over a little bit. Then you see it really winds up once it gets off the coast. And that's, of course, when the wind picks up and kicks in here all the way into a good portion of Vermont and New Hampshire, into Maine, into Connecticut and Massachusetts and Rhode Island and those areas. So you are going to see some wind. That is going to be true. But the placement of the precipitation, this is what I am trying to focus on right here. This is the European model, like I said, and it brings mainly rain for this whole area, with some colder air on the backside once it passes through, which is typical, but mainly rain. And so as we continue on here, by Monday night, there's still going to be snowing, and then it'll clear the whole country by Tuesday morning. It'll clear. So that is one look at what we are possibly facing, which this go around, I'm not really liking the European model for this particular storm. It's having trouble with the placement of the low and how much cold air is going to be in place over the mid-Atlantic into the Northeast once it gets there. So this one is the Canadian model. And what this is saying, and I tend to like where this is headed. Now we're just going to go straight through. This is Friday night into Saturday morning. It develops a low pressure here over, it comes up from southwestern Texas, and then it makes its way into Oklahoma. Behind it, there's some snow into the Rockies here, and then some rain directly around it with not a whole lot, maybe some thunderstorms, but not much in the way of thunderstorms with this system as far as the Canadian model is concerned. Now, as it pulls through, we see this low pressure right here. This is over southern Illinois with some snow and mixed precipitation and some ice. This is some ice for you all in central and northern Indiana. Same for Ohio, and mixed precipitation into southwestern Virginia, into western and northwestern North Carolina. And this is early Sunday morning. And then you see this low pressure has not moved much. And then all of a sudden it transfers from over here in the Indiana and Ohio region out to the coast. Now this is called a Miller B, which when it does that, when it transfers, there's a low pressure system here, and then it sort of transfers its energy out to the coast where an even bigger and a deeper low pressure system forms off the coast. That's called a Miller B. So that's what this model is saying is going to happen, which will allow that. And the placement of the low is key too, because if it forms off the coast down here in North Carolina, it's going to allow that colder air to filter down and be mainly snow for a good portion of Maryland into Pennsylvania. And then this, where once was ice, will turn to rain, and then it will turn to snow as well as that cold air comes behind. And as you can see, this low sort of parks itself here off the coast of the border between Virginia and North Carolina, and then it kind of makes a beeline due east. But that wind will be there as well, and then it'll change over to rain, and at the very end just be rain, on the border of rain and snow with that colder air and a little bit of wind. Not a lot of wind. There's going to be some wind, but not the wind that was present over this area over this past weekend, because there was a lot of wind from that system that came through last weekend, and with that Arctic air that came down from Canada. But there is going to be some wind with this one as well, but just not as much wind. Now that's an interesting, so we could have a Miller B, which would favor, and because of this Arctic air that has been around, that pipeline from the Arctic that has just filtered down time and time again throughout this whole winter, cold air into this part of the country. That's why I am favoring this situation where we have a transfer of the low pressure from the upper Midwest, Indiana and Ohio, to the coast. And if that happens, this is what is going to happen with the snow and mixed precipitation and rain staying further to the south. And not much in the way of severe weather down here too. So that would be good news for everyone in the south if that severe weather component did not come into this storm. And this high pressure builds in back behind it. And then this storm clears us by Tuesday morning as well. And then warmer weather comes back into play into Tuesday. So you all could be seeing over here on Tuesday upwards of upper 50s, low 60s for highs here in Virginia, especially southwestern Virginia, by Tuesday, which would be very interesting. Okay, so that is the component that I wanted to talk about, that with a little bit of a change, not so much in the way of ice around the mid-Atlantic, but a little swath of ice up here in the north into Indiana and Ohio, and then more snow coming down to the south with that Miller B transformation of that low pressure system over here to transfer and out to the coast with a deeper low pressure system that will give it that opportunity to pull down that colder air. So this will continue to be something that I watch, of course, for the rest of this week to see if that actually comes to fruition. Now, really quickly, we're going to go back out west, and I'm going to go back to the European model, and we're going to take a look out west to see what is going to transpire out west for this week. Really quick. Not really quick, but as quickly as I can, because I don't want to keep you for too long. I always end up talking way too long. I could talk about weather for a million years, and not everybody wants to be around for a million years. So now, like I said, that system, this goes into tomorrow morning. We have another little system coming into the northwestern corner of Washington State. We have a little bit of snow down here into Nevada, over in Utah, and a little bit in Colorado. And then by midweek, everybody starts to dry out. It's going to be pretty nice up here in this part of the country for Tuesday and Wednesday. And even into Thursday, we'll get a little bit more clouds up here. But this system comes into the California coast, and it just sort of parks itself off the coast, and then it dies. So it'll pump in some rain and some snow. You all in the Sierra Nevadas are going to see lots and lots of snow this week, feet of snow this week. In fact, I'll show that here in a moment. And then this sort of just dies by Wednesday. So this low pressure parks itself, rains itself out, and then dies, and then a high pressure builds back in. But then by this time, you all are going to see some snow here into the Colorado Rockies, into Wyoming, and then especially by towards the middle and the end of the week, those snow showers are just going to continue over here. This doesn't look like much, but this will drop and dump quite a bit of snow in the mountains of Colorado and to Utah as well, and to Nevada. So, and then we do see a little bit of warmth return here into Montana, but then especially by next week, by the end of the weekend into next week, that's when this whole area is going to start to see a transition from a warmer and calm pattern to a colder and a more active pattern with snow. And I talked about that yesterday. Middle of the week, we'll have snow, and then it'll go away a little bit. And then it's going to come back this weekend, and especially next week. So you see this colder air filtering back in with some snow chances and some rain for western Washington, some snow into Idaho, a little bit in eastern Washington and Montana especially. And then this low pressure system comes into California. Let's see if I can move this over. It doesn't really show it anymore on the side. So this low pressure comes into California, and it's going to swing in, create that dumping of snow, like I said, in the Sierra Nevadas, some rain down here in Southern California, and then rain all the way up the coast. And that low pressure sort of sits off the coast and meanders north a little bit, continues to pump in that rain into California, and it comes north, and then it sort of dies, and then it resurges, and then it comes in too. So there's going to be a lot going on in California, Northern California, up into Oregon, and then eventually into Washington State as well. This is through, I'm getting way ahead of myself now. This is Friday, February 20th. So this is bound to change. But as you can see, the pattern is going to be pretty active with snow in the mountainous areas of this whole region, with colder air being present. Now, really quickly, I'm going to take us over to, this is the National Weather Service blend of models, and I'm already at 20 minutes. I just can't stop talking. The blend of models that brings us the snow totals for this week and until the end of the weekend. This is through the 17th of February. So we have this feet of snow. This is 65 inches from now until a week from now, for the next week. So there's going to be 5 to 6 feet of snow in the Sierra Nevadas, which is a good thing, a really good thing. And then, of course, a lot of snow up here in the Northeast. We see a lot of snow there. And then we head out west and we have a good amount of snow that's going to fall in the Cascades of Washington and Oregon. And then into Idaho and eastern Washington as well. My neck of the woods, we're going to see a few inches. And then into Montana, especially into the mountainous areas of Montana and Wyoming and Colorado. See, this is good news for you all. This snow right here in Colorado has not seen too much, and Utah and the mountainous areas of Arizona and New Mexico as well, northern New Mexico. So that's what we're looking at, guys, as far as the changes that I'm seeing this week. And of course, with any of these storms, they're going to change time and time again. So I will continue to come back and update everyone as needed. And yeah, that is it for now. So this is Kate Weatherwise saying good night.